Hey everyone, my name is Andrew Davis, and you're watching Conversations in Pop Culture. And yes, I am hard to kill. And before I introduce my guest, I do want to remind everybody that my friend and my sponsor, Preston Bolter, has a book out right now on Kickstarter, and it is Palace of the Golden Princess, as well as you can go to pocketjackcomics.com to check out all of his books. So please go check out what he does and everything he's doing because he helps to make this show happen. And it's much appreciated if you go look at his books, and there's some interesting stuff in his books. But enough about that, because I have with me comic creator Ed Davis. So welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me back.
I'm always happy to have you back. Obviously, we've known each other for a while. I think this is maybe your sixth time on here.
I'd say so. Yeah, it's been for quite a while.
And so I'm always, as I stated, to have you on. But before we get to what's going on, because you have the Immortal Era on issue Kickstarter right now, issue 11 on Kickstarter. The link is in the description down below, or to the side, or up wherever it is in the description. But I figured I would allow you to introduce yourself quickly because some people might know who you are, some people might not know, and you do a lot of stuff in comics.
So I do. So I'm Ed Davis. I am the founder of Finish Line Comics, and I write the ongoing series Immortal Era, which is on its 11th issue, as we said, and about to it's going to be, when it's all said and done, about a 24 issue series, moving as quick as we can. But I also have the series Corruptor, which is on its second issue. And then I have two new books that will be launching, one this year later on and one next year. So trying to get lots of stuff going on with that. And I'm also part of the Cthulhu Invades Grim Fairy Tale series. So I was in volume 1, and I'm going to be in volume 2 and 3. And that's something that'll be launching tomorrow, I believe. So yeah, I'll be a part of that one, and you'll see me promoting that as well as Immortal Era, because they're both going to be running kind of simultaneously, which I didn't even know. Just dumb luck that we have them both going at the same time.
Yeah, so obviously there's a lot of stuff I want to talk about, but I figured we could talk about Immortal Era first
Yes.
because that's your book. That's what's on
Mhm.
Kickstarter. Obviously it's as you stated, it's going to be 24 issues, give or take. But what is the basic premise of it? Because it is an interesting premise, and it's kind of post-apocalyptical. But I figured I would let you pitch your book.
All right. So it is a post apocalyptic story that's set 200 years in the future in a world where everyone has mysteriously gained immortality. So everyone in this world is immortal, but no one has any kind of powers or abilities. They can still age, they still get sick. If you lose limbs, if you lose your head, you're going to live through it. And in this world, it centers on a group of heroes who are out looking for relics that would explain why people became immortal, and their goal is to restore the natural life cycle and save humanity by killing them.
Yeah. So there's a lot to break down because a lot's happened, and there's
Mm-hmm.
obviously been 10 issues before, this whole thing, and this is the 11th, and a lot of
Yes.
stuff has happened in this whole thing where obviously this group of people who are coming out and finding this and trying to put death back together,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, they've gone through a lot of stuff. And
Yeah.
they've gone through going up to the surface, come back down to the surface, defending
Mm-hmm.
their land. And so, what is this like now at this point? Because we're going to dive into kind of what a little bit happened, but there's
Mm-hmm.
a lot of stuff that has happened that has changed the landscape now of this whole
Yeah.
thing. And so, it's no longer now, you're not like in your first issue, if that makes any sense. I don't know how to
Yeah.
explain that. But there's a lot of stuff that's happened. Because once you're 240 pages or 320 pages, give or take, into a
Mm-hmm.
story, I mean, there's a lot of shit that's happened.
Yeah. Yeah. We're past the kind of introducing characters and world building and just diving into the plot and the quest, because I kind of get right to the issue of how did people become immortal. We find out right in issue 2, because overall, this is going to be a giant hero's quest. They're going to have to find a way to reassemble what they need to do to bring death back into it. And kind of, if small spoilers, we find out that someone in this universe killed death. There's one day of the year every 1,000 years that death becomes vulnerable, and he is manipulated into killing death. And now he realizes that he needs to find a group of people that can bring death back together. And that's what this quest has become. These relics from the past are pieces of death. That's what I called the first story arc. And it's literal. They're trying to find these body parts, put them back together so that death can hopefully come back into the world. They're hoping that when they do all of this, that it actually succeeds. So with the first story arc, we got the first piece was complete. They found the first piece. It's now there. And now the second story arc, they're going into the headquarters of the police force of this world and trying to first get the next piece of death, and second, put these soldiers offline because they're just brutal. They're terrible. If you walk up to the surface and you're not a legal citizen, then they're just going to take you down with the most extreme force and place you into these prisons in this world. And we finally find out in issue 9 what these prisons actually are. And hopefully they're worse than you would have ever imagined.
So let's go into this a little bit, because obviously, they gain a new ally. And I mean, I don't think it's a secret if you read the Kickstarter, and it's the one guy that can kind of put it all together to some degree. He's the only one, and he joins them. And obviously it's Rob Rockford. And so they gain a new ally here with this whole thing. And what is that like too? Because now, he is the only one who could put this together, but he's now on this quest with them. And I think it's either 3 or 4 of them, or maybe he's the 5th member. And now they're going into this new headquarters. But if he dies, I mean, they're kind of screwed. So like, what is this like? Because this sets up a lot of stuff that's going on now, where they're in this new headquarters in issue 11, and they're in a precarious situation, to say the least.
Yeah, because at this point, like you said, Rob, everything is dependent on him because he is the only one that can touch these body parts of death. If anyone else touches them, we find out you can actually die if you touch one of these pieces. It will bring to you real death. And Rob, if something happens to them, the rest of the team has no way to get these pieces moved and reassembled. And yeah, they all went in there thinking, oh, we're going to take them by storm. And all 3 people that are there, it's Rob, Ari, Miguel, and Kimberly, they all were sent to different places to complete different parts of this quest. They're all captured in different ways when we end issue 10. So issue 11, they need to try to get out of the situations they're in, and also, find a way to continue their quest when everything's falling apart.
Because it's so interesting, right? Because now they're bringing the fight to this whole force that wants to keep death alive. And that's the other thing that I think is interesting about the book in particular, is that now you have a resistance force bringing a fight to the superpower in your book. But there's also the idea that it's kind of like you're putting your king into combat if this was playing chess. And so that's what's so interesting. And I don't think maybe people do realize, I don't want to speak for other people, but in reading it, I kind of figured out, saying like, if they just kill him, this quest is moot. And so like, that's what makes it so interesting in the whole thing. And I'm wondering even just like, if that was even the thought process in writing it, because to me, that changed the dynamic in a lot of ways, especially really at the midpoint of the book.
Yeah, it was kind of bringing him back, because we see him. He's the one that wrote the journal that we find out in issue 2 and discover that he was the reason that everyone gained immortality. And he has just been kind of hiding away for all these years because there's something happened to him when he killed Death that gives him a power to basically be invisible to people around him. Only people can only see him if they really know he's there. So he's just been hiding away because, like you said, he's kind of the king and you want to keep him off play. And he knows he shouldn't be involved in this. And he's also just kind of sulking over the decisions he made, because everything he did was trying to save his mother, because his mother had terminal cancer and he tried to save her, but discovered that the last death that occurred was that of his mother. So he's been kind of mourning all these years, and finally, when he saw that this group of people were going out and trying to do this quest, he put himself back on the board. But like you said, he's the one piece that if anything happens, the quest dies, and the forces that are trying to keep death, or keep immortality in the world, they're going to be victorious because they don't need to have all the pieces to continue to be immortal.
No, because it's interesting. Because I mean, I don't even know, like, just to get into it, and I don't want to ruin too much about everything that's going on. Obviously, we kind of learned a lot about the prisons too, how people might be fodder, some people might be made into food, some people might be used for other means, some people might have other uses, and there's this whole crazy stuff that's going on here with that. And also, there's the issue as well where I don't know if Ari, Miguel, Kimberly, if they really have a place to go back to if they don't succeed either. And that's the other thing that's really interesting as well, because I think the parts of the village survived. Obviously, it was attacked. I'm not trying to ruin too much. I don't think that's a major spoiler, but it has also changed in a lot of ways too. And so, like, that's what's so interesting is that you're kind of going deep here, where it's an all or nothing type of mission now. And I don't know. I'm trying not to ruin too much at this point of your book.
And you're right. It's one of those things where there was this great comfort that Ari had. She was content to just stay down there, keep away anyone who tried to attack it, because she's been trained in such a way that there's not going to be many people that can challenge her. And she's content to be there. But like you said, what was there for her has completely fallen apart. The world that she knew, the friends that she loved, they're gone now. They were this huge battle left the village vulnerable and left it very much a fragment of what it was before that. And like you said, they don't have the same world to go back to. So now they're all in on this quest. And also, as they encountered another one who we saw in issue 2 named Tristessa. She's the head of a large coven that was the one that has been plotting this particular killing of death, because they tried it every 1,000 years. And that's something that will be written. I'm going to actually write the backstory that happened, excuse me, in 1900. So it's all kind of plotted out. So we're going to see they almost succeeded in the year 1900, and then they have to wait another 1,000 years for it to go. And of course, they're not immortal at that point. So it's new witches that have these things passed down to them and know, okay, we're just training you to be ready in 1,000 years to succeed this time.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, and obviously, I don't want to press too much into this because I don't want to ruin what kind of happens. But I do want to talk about the bigger, broader stuff outside of this, because as I stated, once you get into a series of past issue 6, I mean, you're now deep into a series. And I remember, and I think you said this, that initially you wanted to do like 30 issues or 40 issues, and I'm curious in which that why you want to wrap it up at 24. Because obviously, I don't think it's a story content issue per se.
No, it's one of those things where I could probably tell the main story in 24, because a lot of what would have been that 30 are things like, okay, it's going to be a 3 or 4 issue arc to tell what happened in 1900. And those things I'll still do, but I'll just do more side stories that we can tell. But the main story, and I say this, but then of course, as I get writing, I realize, all right, I'm going to need more to do it. And some of the times what I've done is just expand the page count, because that's one of the things you can do when you're writing an indie comic, when you're self-publishing an indie comic. You need 32 pages, you make it 32 pages. And issue 9 was 32 pages. Issue 12 will also be 32 pages. So kind of increasing the page count has made it where I can shrink the story down, where maybe it'll be 28, maybe it'll be a last story arc of 4 issues. Because what I won't do at this point, I've taken my time, I've let the story breathe. I'm not going to push it too fast and make it feel rushed, because people, if they've been invested through 11, they'd rather wait till 28 and get the story told the way it
So
should be.
let me ask this,
Mhm.
because I mean, the way I view it is that I think doing 100 issues is difficult, because you're going to have readers come in, you're going to have readers come out. And I use that number because it's a large number. I think everybody understands
Yeah.
what 100 issues looks like. I think even people understand what 12 issues. I think 12 issues
Mhm.
to some degree is hard, because you're going to have people come in and out. And,
Mhm.
and you're always going to have people come in and out. And there's benefits, I think, to both, because I
Mhm.
can tell that I drop off of things right after a certain amount of issues, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we'll just use DC Comics as an example. I've dropped off of, I read 24 issues of Batman, and then issue 25, I'm like, I'm not so into Batman anymore. We
Yeah.
did, 4 story arcs, thrilled, 6 issue story arcs, great, but then I move on to something new. And
Mhm.
so that's how I view things, is that I think that there is an issue of that. And I don't know if the economy and even just the nature of comics and Kickstarter and all that stuff also plays a factor. Because if you're
Yeah.
only doing 24 issues, I think people can say I could tough out 24 issues.
Yeah.
Having at 48, it's a lot harder.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, if I can find a way, because I've kind of played with my structure to figure out how I can do it, because in the end, I've set up, you see just little fragments of the different places they're going to need to go. And the story, as we reach the third story arc, it's going to move out of the city, because we know that one of those pieces of death is in the desert. It's in their prison area, but it's guarded by people who are very powerful. So it's not going to be so easy to get into that. But there's another setting that they're going to need to go to get another piece. So can I get through these settings in a timely way? And I feel like you said, 24 is kind of a sweet spot for readers, because if you're doing trades, that's 4 trades, and eventually you could do a large compendium that's got everything in there, and 24 issues can fit into one fat volume.
That is true. That is true. And then also, I mean, that I was going to go there and ask that anyway. Is that obviously trades are a whole different ball game of
Mhm.
figuring out how to do trades correctly. Also, having a trade, having a
Yeah.
complete set, having even numbers. Because
Mhm.
I don't think you want to have 28 issues and then it's like, what do you do with the last 2 in a trade,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Because, correct me if I'm wrong, the more stuff you add into a trade and the bigger the trade is, the more expensive it becomes.
Yeah, every page adds price to what you're putting in.
So I think that's something to put out there. But I mean,
Mhm.
this is interesting. But I want to even go further with this, because do you also feel though that obviously you can do a lot of the stuff that you were saying, like a prequel, and
Mhm.
talk about 1900, and then you could do side stories too,
Yeah.
that also can be just a brand new thing. Because I hate to
Mhm.
say it, but marketing, I think comics now and a number 1 is a lot easier than marketing a number 11.
Yeah. Yeah, and if
And
it's okay, a little side series, one of 4-issue miniseries, people can get on that, because I can say you can read it without any prior knowledge of Immortal Era. It's just a fun little side story. Knowing Immortal Era, I always throw Easter eggs. Even in my second series, Corruptor, I set it in a shared universe, so you can catch the Easter eggs, but I had to make it where it can be read independent, and you're not reliant on, okay, I need to know 24 issues of lore to understand any of this. Like, no, it'll just be a fun little adventure story, kind of like when Stephen King wrote The Dark Tower, and I think it was book 4, was entirely, it was important to the plot, but it was just kind of Roland's backstory with his love and everything that happened, and you could read that as a standalone book and not have to have any of the stuff. So when I write those side stories, I want to write them like that, where they're connected to the deeper lore, but not reliant on it for understanding.
do you also feel, and I'm just curious, is that if you take it down and just do the whole complete story and then you do the side stories, that you
Mhm.
also have more economic control, and you can, because making comics is expensive.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, I don't think that that's a secret. I don't think I'm saying anything that's secretive, but you can
Mhm.
also be like, cool, you know, I can not have to fully commit to 48 issues here, get all this
Yeah.
stuff in there, and I can do this when things are more advantageous.
Yeah.
Because right now, I mean, I don't know anybody's circumstances. Everybody has some financial advantageous times, but I
Mhm.
believe that there can be points where great. Right now, we have tariffs in play. We have messed up printing. Things are
Yeah.
more expensive. The economy isn't great. I mean, it's coming. There are problems. Things are shifting around.
Mhm.
There's more, I think, comics being produced than ever before. And
Yeah.
so, if you don't have to fully commit and you can wait a little while to do something when things are better, I mean, that also gives
Mhm.
more power, I think, and more control
Yeah.
on creation, and also makes it more sustainable. But that's what I think. I don't know if that's also part of this too. Is that because again, and also, I mean, technology is going to change, and new artists are going to emerge, and all sorts of
Mhm.
stuff is going to come out in the next five
Yeah.
years that can make things more interesting, I guess, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing because we have kind of the emergence of AI, and it's going to change the landscape of comics. And of course, I'm one who I want real artists to be working on the book, but there's going to be a thing. It's their price is going to have to drop, some of the top artists, because they're going to be competing with a free algorithm basically.
I
So
mean,
it's going to be a weird and different landscape.
we know how I feel about AI. I
Mhm.
mean, I'm a big proponent of it across every sector. And here's the reason why. This is the controversial part. Is I think a lot of these top cover artists have gotten a little too expensive. And I think even some page artists have gotten too expensive. And I get that you want to feed your family. But
Yeah.
you also have to understand that if I'm producing an indie comic and I'm kickstarting it, I
Mhm.
can't afford to pay you what Marvel would pay you.
Yeah.
And so if you want to work on an indie comic book, or there's four projects and Marvel's not calling you, I
Mhm.
mean, you gotta negotiate, but you can't be charging me to do a page or a cover what Marvel would charge.
Yeah,
That you
because
charge
we're not
Marvel.
Marvel.
And I think that's part of the problem with AI is that AI is coming in. Nobody wants to have these conversations,
Mhm.
but I think it's gonna go down that way where artists are gonna price themselves out of the market. I know cover artists who are
Yeah.
doing it already, and I hate to say, but international, I can go international and find an artist who could feed his family and charge me $150 for a cover.
Mhm.
So like that's part of the issue, I think, at the very least. But I mean, again, I think AI is going to stabilize a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it'll get the market more manageable because yeah, I've been looking at certain cover artists and they're looking, it's $1,000 for a cover and they need to feed their family, so do I. So I have to look and say, okay, I'm gonna get one of the $150 covers. And I have my primary artist, he does my covers as well. So I don't bring in special names for covers. It's, three covers by Cesar Oliveira, and they look good. I mean, he is a great artist, and if you put my book on the shelf next to a Marvel or DC book, it doesn't look out of place. And that's the main thing I was going for is, of course, yeah, Marvel and DC have the top names in the industry, but my book doesn't embarrass itself. And that's all I've wanted is a book that you can feel like
You're
it
you're you're,
belongs in a comic shop.
you're touching upon something that I think is interesting, right? Is this idea of having a book that doesn't embarrass itself. And I think a lot of people, and I think a lot of people in comics, they don't understand that. Look, you're producing an indie comic, and maybe I'm misspeaking here. And if I am, I'll take the heat. But your book needs to be good enough that if it's placed against a Marvel book,
Mhm.
then okay, it doesn't seem out of place, but we know it's not Marvel.
Yeah.
When I go buy your book or anybody's indie book for that matter, I know it's not Marvel. So I'm
Yeah.
not expecting it to be J. Scott Campbell, right?
Mhm.
No offense to your book, right?
Yeah.
That's not the expectation, right? It's not
Mhm.
the expectation for you to be Scott Snyder doing the Court of the Owls and coming up with a brilliant concept. It's
Yeah.
the expectation is that I want a decent, good story
Mhm.
that is pretty solid. That's not gonna be a disaster.
Yeah. And that's where I tell whenever people come up, because inevitably you have a comic out, you're going to get people coming up to your table, your booth when you're at a con, and they're saying, well, I want to write a comic too. What should I do? And I tell them, spend money on an editor, because nothing will take someone out of a book faster than bad grammar, bad punctuation, those sloppy stigmas that people have of indie comics. If you can look through my book and you don't find misplaced commas and bad grammar, it's going to keep them in there. But if you go to page 3 and you see, oh, there's a misspelling, there's a misplaced comma, that's the verbs don't agree, people are going to fold that book up. That's the end of that. They won't finish. And there are countless indie comics that I couldn't keep reading because the sloppiness. And it's like, you have the ability to do better, because your name, your legacy sits on that cover. Don't let it be sloppy.
So let me ask you this, because now I'm curious, because I have seen plenty of books on Kickstarter do $30,000 and they're horrible books,
Yeah.
right? And I've seen books that are some of the best books that barely fund. And I'm wondering that at this point on Kickstarter and a bunch of other places, and even just in general in life with products, I don't even know if it has to be good. I mean, I want it to be good, obviously. If you want people to come back, you want it to be good.
Yeah.
But my issue here is that I don't know, in which I think it's a marketing issue. Now, I think Kickstarter, I mean, this is going to sound controversial, and this is controversial day. I'm not saying Kickstarter is a scam, but I definitely think Kickstarter definitely has a filter. And I think it presents somewhat of an illusion. I really believe that now, because half the time on Kickstarter, it's a 50-50 opportunity that I'm going to get something great or bad. Even though both campaigns look solid, I don't know exactly what I'm going to get on Kickstarter anymore. And this is why I say, I'm not saying it's a scam, but it's definitely an illusion game. I don't know how you feel about that, because I've seen people do $70,000 on Kickstarter.
Yeah.
I know how they did it. I know exactly how they did it. They ran a bunch of ads on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. I know the exact formula they use, and their book isn't bad, but it's average. It's not a $70,000 book.
Yeah.
And so, like, this is where I'm curious how you feel about it as somebody on Kickstarter, because I don't know if it's pay to play. I don't know if it's just a choice on how you want to run your business, or what exactly it amounts to, because that's my problem with Kickstarter, and it makes me very hesitant as a backer now. It really does. Man.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of factors involved, and I think one of them is nudity that sells. I mean, it's as simple as that. You throw topless women in your book, you'll get more views. I guess that's how it is, and that I'm not begrudging that if it's pertinent to the story. But if I said I'm desperate for sales, I need to get a piece of that $70,000 pie, and I put nudity on my cover. Let's just say I picked Ari or Kimberly and had them topless. People are going to be looking for something in the book that relates to that. And they'll be like, wait, it's a sexy topless cover. This book's not sexy at all. It's dirty and it's gritty. And it was false advertisement. So it might boost me for a campaign, but the next one, those people are going to be pissed off. They're like, fuck that guy. I was promised breast and I just got him on the cover. I'm not buying his next book. So the strategy backfires unless you rewrite your book to cater to the pervs. And I could be like, all right, you know what? We're rewriting it. It's the sexy Immortal Era time, and let's do it that way. And I could probably get a piece of that fat pie. But do you compromise your characters? Do you compromise your story? Because any writer, the longer you spend with a group of characters, they feel important to you. They feel like one of your children. And would you throw them nude on the cover to make a few extra bucks? I mean, some people would. And for some people, it's part of their story where they have a sexy cover and the book has pieces that are sexy as well. And that's fine because that's the book they're selling. But for me, I'd be selling myself out in order to do that.
See, it's interesting, right? And this is where this gets all really complicated, right? is that at what point do you go and make a business decision or versus making I want to write my book the way I want to write it, right?
Hmm.
So, like on this show, I interview whoever I want, and I will deal with the consequences accordingly.
Hmm.
And I hope that I'm more right than wrong.
Yeah.
But doesn't mean that it's always the best decision, and I
Yeah.
don't piss people, right? But I've interviewed everybody from somebody who is doing a kid-friendly book to a porn star, right? And I
Hmm.
run the gauntlet. But I know which interviews are gonna get the clips that I want that are gonna do
Yeah.
20,000, and I know the clips that are not gonna get anything. And
Yeah.
then every once in a while, you're pleasantly surprised
Hmm.
that something has changed, and that you have a nice little sweet wholesome clip, and it does
Yeah.
10,000 views every once in a while. But
Hmm.
so I know what sells, right?
Yeah.
And the hope is that because I'm interviewing a porn star and speaking about how she got into the industry or OnlyFans, or she makes a controversial statement, that gets views and then it gets me subscribers, and then maybe that subscriber comes and watches a few more videos that are not that.
Yeah.
And there is some crossover. That's the theory behind it.
Hmm.
Um, and if you hit enough people, you're gonna get that theory done.
Yeah.
But I don't even know if people even want nudity in their books. I mean, Zenoscope's a good example. They do topless, and there's no nudity in their books.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know. But this is why I asked the question, because I'm very curious in a marketing standpoint now, because I think Kickstarter has changed massively in
Yeah.
that, and I think it's more complicated than ever before.
Hmm.
How to do this, and I'm just curious how you feel about it, because I look at it and I'm like, great. It's not hard to figure out which campaigns are going to make money and which aren't.
Hmm. Yeah. And that's true. And you can look at those same big name cover artists that you were talking about. You spend the money, they do bring the results. So some people will say, I'm going to hire 2 or 3 huge names and spend whatever it may cost, and those huge names will also drive traffic. So there's lots of ways to battle the algorithm. And I'm going to be at Comic-Con, or San Diego Comic-Con, next, or actually this weekend, leaving tomorrow, and I'm going to definitely reach out to some of those big names that happen to be there, because that, I don't feel like is selling out my characters or selling out my story. To get a big name artist employed to do a cover, as long as it's not, here's a sexy cover, Ari swimsuit issue, I'm not going there. But to do a cover that just has a name attached to it, I'm happy to try that, because I also am going to be launching new series, and I'm going to try to find cover artists for those series to get them a little bit more buzz, because that's what you need. You need that buzz. And running ads, I've tried it, but I didn't have the same kind of success. But I know the people, they're running multiple ads at the top tier price and all that. So it comes down to, what are you willing to do to promote your book? And if you want to do the bare minimum, yours is going to be one of the ones that has more trouble funding, unless you're deeper into the series. By now, I'm 11 issues in. My readers know what to expect. They may not like some of the twists and turns I take the story to, and you're always going to lose readers, because I know issue 9 in particular, I took to some very dark places. And I had been warning all along anyone who said, oh, issue 3 was really rough, it was a hard one for me to get through. I said, wait till issue 9, we'll see what happens. And you may lose some, but I don't feel like I'm doing it just for the sake of shock. It's all for the progression of the story.
So, I don't disagree with the majority of what you said. The reason why I bring this up is that Kickstarter is very much a game now,
It is.
and I think creating a comic and running a Kickstarter are two very different skills.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's really, really interesting what is going on. And I think that but I mean, I also think that there's only so much ROI you can do, and there's only so much money you can have, and it's where do you want to pump it, right?
Yeah.
Because if you're running ads and you're running $3,000 worth of ads, and to produce your book costs you 8, you got to make like 13,000 to
Mm-hmm.
break even. because I think people forget that you got to produce your book, you got to ship your book, and you also got to pay the fee for Kickstarter, and
Yeah.
taxes sometimes come in too,
Mm-hmm.
and
Oh
taxes are.
yeah, if you make enough, you get sent those 1099s. I got sent that one last year.
I don't know what it is on Kickstarter. On eBay, it is $600 or 200 sales.
Mm-hmm.
To sell $600 on eBay, just so everybody's aware, it is about um it's about I'm trying to think of how many comics it is off the top of my head. It's about 25 comics
Mm-hmm.
at like 20-25 bucks a pop. That's
Yeah.
not a lot of sales in a year.
No.
In reality, I'm to be generous, it's about 50 sales.
Mm-hmm.
50 sales over 12 months is not a lot of sales. And you
Mm-mm.
get a 1099 or a K whatever it is. I forget what exact. It's not
Yeah.
a 1099. It's a tax return is the point.
Yeah,
Uh,
you're paying for what you made.
now, if you made $600, the likelihood of you paying taxes on that $600 is minimal.
Yeah.
If you made $650 from your grandma and you sold, the Lego set you bought for your grandkids, and now they're like 19,
Mm-hmm.
you're not paying any taxes on that. I
Yeah.
guarantee. But if all of a sudden you're selling $70,000, I paid a lot of taxes on eBay last year. I wasn't happy about it.
Yeah.
No, so but that's what people don't realize. But and I also think you become trapped
Yeah.
in a cycle, because if ads brought you $20,000, how can you not run ads again? Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
I mean, yeah, if you're doing it and everything you do, you run ads, that's deductible. You can write those ads off when you go back to your tax time and everything. Yeah, it's all just learning how to do everything the way that you need to do it, because you pay taxes on what you make at a con. People swipe their cards. Very few people pay in cash anymore. That's what I've discovered is most people, their card is right in their phone. They come and they tap it onto your phone and your transaction is over. There's taxes on that. And these are things new creators, I try to tell them there's a lot more involved that you wouldn't understand. And there's a lot of factors. But I tell them the first thing you need to do before you do anything, save at least $5,000. Not wait for Kickstarter to get it, because you're coming in as an unknown commodity, getting putting your first campaign at $5,000. Your odds are against you. I mean, it's not to say it can't happen, but you're gonna be going door to door begging your neighbors like, dude, I need this thing to fund, because it's an all or nothing approach. Kickstarter, if you get to 48 or 4,800 out of a 5,000 campaign, sorry, you failed. You get zero. Try to run that thing again. So I tell them, put your own money away. If you truly are passionate about making a book, you really want to make a comic book, put your money where your mouth is. Get yourself $5,000 put away. And that's what I did. I saved and saved and saved for years until I had $5,000 put away. Then I started looking for artists, because you're going to have to print. You're going to have to get backdrops like you see behind me. You got to get those. All these things cost money. And if you start with money, then what you make on Kickstarter helps keep pushing the engine. And that's all you can do. For me, these Kickstarters, I'm not taking a vacation on them. They're helping move the next issue into production. They're helping pay for colors, for letters, for the editors. All of these things cost money. But again, your name, your legacy, do you want it on a shit product? I mean, that's in the end, it's up to you.
That is fair. That I again, I don't disagree. In which that I give similar business advice, is that if you want to do this on eBay, figure out how to get, $2,500. So you have
Mm-hmm.
merchandise, and then at some point you gotta turn, burn, turn, burn, turn, burn.
Yeah.
And there you go. And once you do that, and you grow it that way, that's what you do.
Yeah.
And so there you go on that point. But again, I find this whole thing fascinating with Kickstarter and doing it. And I also think that, though, and look, I'm a fan of gatekeeping. I have no problem with that. I don't. That's my problem with Kickstarter too, is that there's no gate anymore, and I think there should be a gate to some degree. because, and I think having $5,000, because I mean, anybody can put anything on Kickstarter, and that's my issue with Kickstarter in many ways as well. Is that, again, I don't know what I'm going to get. I don't even know if
Yeah.
I'm going to get the product, to be honest.
But if you get something that you're not pleased with, in general, you're not going to see issue 2, issue 3, issue 4, issue 5, because you're not going to be the only one who's displeased. And I think that's another thing that I've told creators. Once you reach about issue 4, first, your audience trusts that you're going to keep putting books out. They know that you're not going to be one of those one and done guys. Because I've read some great issue 1s from Kickstarter that never get an issue 2 or anything beyond it. So once you reach about 4 issues, and it's pricey to reach 4 issues, that's not an easy accomplishment.
What's the number for those who don't want? I mean, I'll throw a number that I think it is, right?
Okay.
I think it's about 20,000, give or take, right? So is that a fair? Is that a generous estimate?
Yeah, I would say so.
It's about 20,000, give or take, maybe 24,000, to be honest.
Yeah. And that's more for like a trade, let's say. Single issues are smaller than that, but you got to pay all the different pieces, and it does add up. But once you get about 4 issues in, you can at least make enough to keep breaking even. And that's kind of times are harder economically right now. Breaking even is harder because print costs go up. You think, oh, this is perfect. And now it's costing you an extra 80 cents per book to print. And that adds up when you're printing,
I mean,
300-400 books. So everything you got to be ready for it. But if you can find a market to sustain at even a zero profit, but you can continue putting issues out, that's kind of the ideal. Obviously, I'd like to make profit, but I'm hoping that eventually the story catches something else. Like, okay, maybe it gets the eye of a producer, maybe someone, decides that they want to publish it. You don't know, but you want to keep things coming.
You mentioned two things,
Mhm.
and I want to tackle the second thing first. Is that I think it's interesting in which that why people are writing comics, right?
Yeah.
So people say, "Look, I just want to write comics, and I want to print as many of my book as humanly possible, and I want to go to conventions, and I want to sell it. I want to sell it online. I want to sell it in my web store, and I'll just run printing stuff, and I'll do a lot of variants and a lot of other stuff, and I want to have, like, I'll reissue out issue 1 with a brand new variant, right?
Mhm.
I'll do, I mean, you do like some cool stuff, like you do limited 25s, right? But what if
Yeah.
every campaign or every once in a while you said, we're going to do a black and white version of issue 1 and limit it to
Mhm.
50? Because I know there's
Yeah.
people who like to do that, right?
Yeah.
And or they'll do, like leather bound deluxe editions, right? And they
Mhm.
bring out stuff, but it's kind of like a third printing that's a high premium printing. And
Yeah.
because it's a business decision. So I know some people say, look, I just want to do comics, or I just want to
Mhm.
write. And I want to write novels, comics, everything. I want to write. I just want to write. And that's all I
Yeah.
want to do. Then there's other people who say, look, I want to make a movie of my stuff, but the fastest way to make a movie is to show proof of concept through a comic.
Yeah.
And other people say, I don't need the money. Fuck it. I just want to have a book, and I
Yeah.
don't care if I spend $20,000 because I got 2 million in my bank account,
Yeah.
and my wife is letting me do this
Hmm.
because I let her paint the house twice.
Ha. Yeah. Yeah, and I mean everyone's got different reasons, that's for sure.
That's a joke, everybody. I want to make that crystal clear. My wife painted the house 3 times. Okay. No, it's a terrible joke. But like that's why I think it's so interesting is that because I also think that changes where the value is. Because what's the value in your book? Is it in the comics or is it in the intellectual property?
I mean, I think the IP is always going to have the most value because you own a concept and that's it may never get mined for anything, but once you have it, and the thing is, once you've paid for the artwork once, you need to reprint issue 1. You're not repaying for artwork. You put it into a trade. The artwork's already been paid for. So I think there's value in both, but right now it's just, hoping that your IP catches. Because right, the studios aren't really looking for anything new. They're like, let's rehash the old things. People will pay. We don't need the new things that you have sitting in here.
So I mean, this is, I mean, feel free to challenge me on this, but if you reprint issue one and
Yeah.
making issue one costs you $7,000,
Mhm.
every single time you print 100 copies of issue one, and if you're on a 10th print run, that essentially means that the cost of those pages has gone down.
Yes.
Technically. Technically, if you counted against it, right?
Mhm.
So if you print 10,000 copies over 7 years, it could very well be that when you get to the 7,000th copy you printed, that it's actually profitable against
Yeah.
the art.
Mhm.
And I don't think people understand that concept in comics, is that once you print enough copies of something, you then go, because it goes down from costing you $100 a page down to costing you 99.88 cents.
Yeah.
And then it goes down to 99.76 cents. And then it keeps going down, 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 down. And
Yeah.
eventually it will get to the point where it's now being, oh, when I sell this, it's going to make me 15 cents per page, but
Mhm.
there's 24 pages in the book. And all of a sudden you made $3 out of nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what happened with issue one. It's on its 5th printing for me. So at this point, I've recouped the art fees and then some, because even at a con, you have to get it reprinted. You're going to pay for the printing cost, but I know the issue one sells. People, you give them your elevator pitch and they're interested, but are they interested enough to plop $25 down on a trade? No, they're going to buy that issue one, give it a try, and then if they like it, they come down and they buy the trade the next day or the next con. But those issues, like, yeah, 2 through 6 are a lot harder sells because they want to buy a number one, and if they're wanting 2, 3, or 4, they just buy the trade. So issue one, you can recoup it, and then when you print the trade, all those other issues, now you're starting to make the profit because you didn't pay for the art was already there. So there's ways you can do it. It's just more of a slow burn. Like, you can say, all right, it may take me 4 years, but I'll make this much profit. So it's out there, but you just,
I'm a dividend investor. I'm a dividend investor. So I recoup my money over time. Over
yeah.
time. I
Mhm.
buy a stock for 14 bucks. It's going to take me 12 years to recoup all of my money in my stock. But on year 15 or year 13, I'm making profit on that, but I got all
Yeah.
my money back. I still have the equity, and it's still going to produce money for me every
Yeah.
single month. And I think that's why I bring this up, because I think that people don't have foresight. Because
Yeah.
if you're in this for life, there's a lot of ability to make a lot of money.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, and that's, you can't look at anything as instant gratification. You might get lucky, you might strike gold. It happens. But the Kickstarter landscape for comics is huge. There's thousands of comics available right now on Kickstarter, good, bad, and ugly. I mean, there's everything in between, and you need to build an audience, and your audience is going to be your greatest asset. The people that love your book, they'll read it no matter, when you drop it. You drop 3 a year, they'll buy all 3. You drop 5 a year, they'll buy all 5. That's your greatest gold. And then getting those, you go to the cons, you want to hook them with issue one so that they buy future ones and as you put them out. But yeah, nothing's fast and easy when it comes to comic books. Even your greatest, most successful ones, those ones you see that pull $10,000 or $20,000 every campaign, they didn't start that way. You have to kind of put in the work. It's like you're a small indie band and you're out there touring the bars and the clubs and you're playing in front of 100 people. You don't start playing a stadium. You don't get dropped in. You're a brand new
great.
band. They don't drop you into Dodger Stadium. You're playing, the dive bar next to Dodger Stadium, and you got to work. You got to build audience. The same is true in comic books. You're building that audience, but you can build a passionate audience the same way an indie band would. It's just nothing happens quick. There's no American Idol for comics where it's like, okay, you got the golden ticket. Now here you go. You win you win a printing contract and $100,000. Like, no, there's no quick fast lane. You just got to put in the work and get there.
Great. There should be an
Yeah.
American Idol for comics.
American Comic Idol. We need that.
That'd be great. The Great American Comic Off.
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
Yeah,
I'm
we
gonna
just made a
produce this.
show. We need to pitch this thing to TLC or something, or whatever
Oh
network
my God.
plays all the friggin'
Better yet,
reality shows.
better yet. It could be called Comic House.
Yeah, there you go.
It'll be like Big Brother, just making comics.
Oh, yeah. Stabbing the back, like, oh, I'm getting this artist, like, oh damn, he just stole that artist from me. Yeah, we could make some high-end drama about the comics, and then in the end, you get your American Idol, raining down on you, and now you get the publishing deal with Marvel or Image or whatever it may be.
Oh, it could be great. Oh, it could be so much fun. Oh, I got so many ideas for this.
Yeah, my head's bursting with ideas right now.
Oh, we'll take Deal or No Deal Island. We'll combine it with Survivor, combine it with Big Brother, and then we'll put them in like the house of the real world. There's so many things that could go wrong here.
Oh, it would be a disaster, but in a beautiful way.
Oh, I'm gonna make so much money, so I don't really care. But I digress. But I want to talk about the other thing you mentioned too, and I think this is actually the best and the most interesting that interests me is that everything is more expensive right now. Printing is more expensive. Printing is uncertain. I think it's a little bit more certain. Diamond is a disaster. I don't even know what happened with Dynamite. Isn't there like a big scandal going on right now where they're having like litigation hearings during like San Diego Comic-Con week?
Yeah, it's going to be completely insane. And Scout has the same thing. Scout robbed a lot of Scout robbed a lot of small creators and also locked up their IP. So they're not even able to publish their own book now because they're contractually obligated to let Scout do it, and Scout's off the map. So yeah, I mean these smaller kind of small to mid-tier publishers have just decimated the people that they signed.
I know the issue with Dynamite was that they were having an issue making payroll, and that there's a liquidation sale issue going on, and then Diamond's assets were broken up into two companies, and and then this is happening during San Diego Comic-Con week, and then on top of that, I don't really know. So that whole thing is a nightmare because nobody knows where to publish. Nobody knows who to endorse. Lunar, Simon and Schuster. There's others that are happening. I think Phil something is trying to do something. I mean, there's a lot of people in trying to do things, but this is the issue, right? That I don't really. That's an issue, and then on top of that, printing is more expensive. Shipping is more expensive. I mean, I've been on eBay in the last 2 years. It went from 64 cents to 69 cents for an envelope to 74 cents.
Yeah.
I don't think people understand. I'm selling a baseball card for $7. eBay charges me 13%. I still have to buy the envelope. I have to buy a top loader. I have to print it out, which is ink. And then now it's 74 cents on top of that. And those 10 cents doesn't seem like a big deal, but my margin is maybe like $1.20, and now it gets cut down to like 70 cents really, really quick. Real quick. So like, and so I don't know how you're dealing with this, because naturally, if shipping a envelope went up by 5 cents, I would imagine shipping a package is going to go up if it hasn't already.
Yeah, media's shot up, and if you do it around the holidays, they charge that premium charge then. So you got to think about, when are you going to do your campaign? Are you going to be fulfilling it in December when the post office shoots everything up, 20 cents a package? And if you're mailing out 100 packages, that adds up very fast.
Oh, I don't ship out. There's a reason why I don't ship out in December. It's not because of the expense. Every package gets shipped out, and what happens when a lot of packages get shipped out by the post office?
Lost packages.
And when you're selling $80, $90, $100 cards, It's not a $7 loss. It's $100 loss.
Yeah. And
It's
and a
painful.
ding on your account.
It hurts. It hurts in which that, I mean, you file an insurance claim that takes about 2 months.
Hmm.
A lot of the time I get my money back. About, I would say, 90% of the time I get my money back, which is great when that happens.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's a problem.
Yeah.
So I hate shipping out a lot of packages in December.
Hmm.
And I purposely tell my audience, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to wait. And my clients 20 days, because in
Hmm.
20 days, your package's percentage of being lost is lower.
Yeah. You're sitting in a better place. And for me, Kickstarter does the Make 100. So you're better waiting till January running a Make 100 campaign, and you're going to have a much better, you're not dealing with that, holiday loss, because especially media mail, they don't treat media mail well. I watch them throwing the books around, and that's why I go into the office and have them scan every single book so I can make sure they're not tossing them. And if you do it that way in December, you're rolling the dice, because I did one that I had to fulfill in December. And yeah, I ended up having to reship probably 5 or 6 books based on lost packages. But if you wait in the Kickstarter world, make 100 of something, anything, throw it in a Make 100 in January, and you're in a lot better place.
Yeah, no, but again, I'm just curious that you're even addressing all these problems, because naturally, if it's going to cost 80 cents more to print a lot of books and you're
Mhm.
printing 500 books, it's a lot more money.
Yeah,
Y- y- y-
I've actually, one of the things I've done is, especially as I'm building toward the trade, is I'm really not printing much beyond what I need to fulfill the Kickstarter. I think for issue 10, I printed about 30 issues above what was needed for the Kickstarter, because people that are coming to my table by now, they know that the next trade's coming, and they said, "Look, I love your book, but I'm waiting for the next volume." So they're sitting, they're waiting for volume 2. They're not going to buy issues 9, 10, or 11. And one of the things I did for issue 9 was I wrote a standalone story. I said, okay, here's one. It stands on its own. You don't need to have read anything else. It's an origin story of one of the characters, but you can read it independent of anything. So I
Did,
had
did,
to try that too.
did you think that's also now maybe a way how to deal with all this, is to say, look, I'm going to just print, a lot less because I'm going to
Mhm.
be playing the trades, and
Yeah.
I want to push a certain product, right?
Hmm.
So if I want to push a certain product, it makes sense for me to say, look, there's only going to be 150 of this book out there,
Yeah.
and the majority of them are going to be on Kickstarter, and it almost makes sense to market it that way. That
Yeah.
cover B of issue 11, there's only 150, or there's 30 above what was done on Kickstarter, and then you let
Yeah.
everybody know, hey, there's 180 that were printed.
Yeah, you get the people that they're specifically looking for rarity. They want something like, okay, if one day they turn on Netflix and there's Immortal Era, they want the one with the least copies that exist. So I do the 25s. I've done those all along, and I have people that are still trying to hunt down the first 4 issues of those 25 copies, because I told them I don't reprint them. You'll never see that cover again, except in the trade, in the cover gallery in the back. When they retire, they truly retire, because I'm a collector myself. So I don't like when they're like, okay, reissue number 7, because I buy Hot Toys, and they're, they have a figure, everybody wants it. So what do? Version 3.0, version 2.0, version 4.0, and it just diminishes the value. It diminishes the collectability, because people know, oh, I missed it. I'll just wait a little bit, and they'll do a 2.0. If you miss one of my variant covers, it's gone. And I've had to actually search out. Like, I've been eBay buying variant covers because I have people that are looking for them. So you need to make sure that you have true collectability. And if you have, I saw a campaign that had like 27 covers. If you have 27 covers, you're not going to get completed. So, like, you know what? I don't care that much. I'm not buying 27 covers. And even Marvel's guilty of that. I mean, how many damn variants do they put out for every Spider-Man issue that comes out?
I mean, it was crazy. Batman 1000 was wild.
Mm-hmm.
They went through the alphabet, I think, twice over.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
It was pretty intense, right? Now, granted, I understand a blank cover. I understand a
Yeah.
gold foil. I
Hmm.
understand. I think going to G or F or H. I think that's reasonable.
Yeah, you're Marvel. You can afford it.
Especially on Batman 1,000 of your DC, Marvel 1,000. I get it, right? If you went through the
Hmm.
whole alphabet, I get it. But
Yeah.
then when you start going through every store, every this, 3,000 copies here, there gets a point where I'm just like, fuck this.
Yeah.
Like,
And
like,
most people do. They're
and
not
then
going to hang in for that.
and then a lot of stores were left with a lot of garbage and left with
Yeah.
books that just didn't sell.
Hmm.
And that's why they're all in blind boxes now. It's
Yeah.
terrible.
Like, please just take them. They're in the quarter bin.
$5, man. I'll do the whole set for 15. Just take it.
Yeah.
Um, I know I've done that in my eBay store where I just don't want product anymore.
Hmm.
Oh, thank God, the Mets won. Thank God.
Oh, is it final? All right, there you go. Good
Thank
stuff.
God.
All right, because the Phillies got it. So there you go. For those who don't know, we're both Mets fans, so we're happy to see this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, the Washington Mystics really screwed me today, but I don't
Hmm.
want to talk about it. It's
That's
not
all
a
right. The Mets didn't, so you can take that.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think the Dodgers are going to screw me either. But like life happens,
Hmm.
Again, my betting everybody is a roller coaster. It tends
Yes.
to go up, but but
Mm.
but but but, but, but there's bumps in the road. But I digress. We don't need to go through my betting practices right now. But overall, I'm going to be fine. But anyway, I find it interesting that whole thing, and then obviously, I mean, you're cross promoting. That's another thing you're
Yeah.
doing with a Path of the Pale Rider
Hmm.
and the cat thing. I
Yeah.
don't know.
That's the produce cats.
So I mean, I don't know exactly. I mean, I've heard good stories and bad stories about promoting and cross promoting. So
Yeah,
I
the reason I picked Path of the Pale Rider is we kind of discovered our books are very similar. It's, one of those things where she has a world where people have gained immortality as well, but hers is written more like a future, post-apocalyptic western. So we have the same basic story idea, but we're approaching it in completely different ways, but it makes sense that her audience will be compatible with my audience. And then we know Sarah, who's running the produce cats, and she actually created one just to match our story. So she's doing different vegetables, making them cats, just something she did as a fun little thing, but she made a rotting avocado to go with ours since we both have our worlds without death. So it was more kind of a fun way to link these, but with Path of the Pale Rider and Immortal Era, we kind of want to introduce our audience to those books because I think I can get long-term readers from her. I think she can get long-term readers from me because we have a lot of connection together, and we're looking at it like, damn, I didn't know who she was when she was writing issues 1 through 4, and damn, there's a very huge amount of overlap. I was telling her today, I was reading issue 4 in the story, and it follows a very similar sequence to the first draft of Immortal Era. It was scrapped because it got annihilated by a publisher, but the first draft kind of followed her sequence, and rightfully so. It didn't deserve not to get shit on because I gave away too much and too fast. All of these big reveals that we're getting in issues 8, 9, 10, I gave them all away in issue 1. And that's, you got to leave your readers wanting more. They're like, all right, cool, I know everything. I don't need to buy issue 2 because he just gave me the story in its entirety. And that was my shortcoming, is like, yeah, you have all of these big reveals, and that's what they told me. Slow it down, give them to people, because they liked enough of it that they gave feedback of saying, okay, what you have here is a very interesting world, but you gave everything away in 24 pages, and you gotta slow the pacing down, give these big reveals throughout the books. Okay, here, issue 3, here's the big reveal with Dr. Mann. Issue 9, here's the big reveal with Father, and the big reveal that there is a way to die in this world. So we find there is an actual way for death, but I make things where if you read, I wrote a side story for Tales from the Collective, which Travis coordinates and puts out, and there's a huge reveal in that. So it's one of those things where you want big reveals. I give them all throughout instead of like here's a big, exposition dump and everything's done. So I had to slow it down, and that's one of the things I think it benefits the stories because you want those holy crap moments as the story progresses.
No, I get it. I've read a lot of stuff, and I read a book where everything is revealed in the
Mhm.
first 2 pages, and then
Yeah.
it's how did it get done,
Yeah.
and that was cool. That was awesome in
Hmm.
a lot of ways. Um, but I get where you're going with that. I completely get where you are going with that, and all that good stuff. But I just find cross promotion interesting, right? Because I ran a
Yeah.
show that was on my channel and somebody else's channel for almost 2
Hmm.
years, and it was
Yeah.
beneficial. It was beneficial where it expanded the audiences,
Hmm.
and I'm always happy to do that with people and other things, and at some point, I might do a project with somebody with that regard.
Yeah.
Um, but because again, when my content goes somewhere else, it's always beneficial. But
Hmm.
it has to make sense and it has to work. Or conversely, sometimes I want to put my content where it shouldn't be because
Yeah.
I want that audience. And who knows what net I'm going to cast? But I
Hmm.
find just cross promotion to be fascinating in
Yeah.
that regard. And again, I've never done anything like it in my life. That's not true. That's not true. I did a cross promotion on my Kickstarter that I ran. And that was great for me. That was just a merch trade. That was
Yeah.
fantastic. He made a lot more money than I did on that, which
Mm.
which, which means that I didn't exactly do what I should have done.
Yeah.
But I digress. I know exactly how much money DJ made on me, but not the point. But no, I think it's interesting. And then I do want to touch upon and ask where you think even comics are going right now because we're in a weird time. I mean, there's just so much
Yeah.
content out there. There's so much content.
There is, and I think the younger generation is really they're more excited about mangas than they are about Western comic books. And I know I had a couple kids, they've come to my table like, oh, do I have to read it, starting from the back? I'm like, no, it's just a comic book, but they grew up on manga. So it's one of those things that you have to kind of get people excited about Western comics again. And it's an interesting market because you have, if I'm working a con, the people coming to my table, they're pretty much in my age range, like 30 to 50, let's say. Those are the ones that are buying traditional comics. The kids won't stop. You can sell the kids your story, and a lot of them will give it a try, but so they've been raised on manga, on anime. So I think we're going to have to find a way to adapt without just being okay now Immortal Era is a manga, but finding a way to sell it like, okay, you like mangas how they tell long linear stories, this is doing the same thing, it's just in a Western way. And I know one of the people that read my comic, it was the niece of one of my coworkers, and she just didn't like that it was color, she didn't like that it was traditional reading it the Western way. But when she read the story, she got hooked. She's like, but I love the characters, I love the story. So we have to sell them compatible stories where they can get hooked and love the characters and the stories. But it's a hard sell because they're inclined to just go to Barnes and Noble and the vast collection of mangas that are there, and they're going to grab those. They're not looking at Marvel, they're not looking at DC, and we
I
have
wa-
to find a way to sell them
I
what
mean,
we have.
I saw this coming years ago.
Yeah.
For almost 20 years, every weekend I would go to Barnes and Noble.
Hmm.
And I watched the manga section in my Barnes and Noble over 20 years grow bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and grow from being 2 shelves to
Hmm.
being legitly like 50.
Hmm.
And,
Yeah, and now the comics get the two shelves. Now the standard westerns get one display, and then there's a giant L of mangas back there.
So I saw the whole thing just get eaten up,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw it in real time. And I wish I had a photo of it every week because it would be the coolest video in the world.
Mm-hmm. Just
Um,
time progression growth.
Time progression growth in 5 minutes of
Yeah.
every single week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've
And
seen the same thing.
it's terrifying. Yeah, it's cool
Yeah.
though. I mean, it's but it's scary for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's good that kids and teenagers are excited to read something. We just, as creators, we need to find a way to get them excited to read our book. So that's the challenge, is getting them to actually stop at your table, talking about a story, getting them hooked on your characters, your premise. Get hopefully someone to cosplay your characters.
Yeah.
Those are the big victories. Can you get a big cosplayer who finds your story, loves it, and now they're going to cosplay as one of your characters, because that would get buzz for your book as well. So you have to find new ways, new entryways to get people hooked on your stuff.
I agree. I agree. It's so complicated, and I don't think it just applies to comics. It
No,
applies to
anything out
everything.
there. Yeah.
Everything.
Because we could
Um,
do the same time progression for the Blu-rays and DVDs at place like Best Buy. Watch them go from vast rows and rows to shrinking to one tiny little end cap, because people consume differently now, and we have to be there and meet them in the middle. So it's like everything
I mean,
changes.
I'll ask you this, right? And I'm curious how you feel. What physical media do you buy the most of?
Probably right now, vinyl albums is what I buy the most of. I have a huge collection. I still buy it when I go to shows and I see a lot of more up and coming bands, not the big established ones. And I know that that's their bread and butter. That's what's going to make or break them profiting on this tour. They're playing a place with a maximum capacity of 300 people. The ticket price, they're charging $20. They're going to barely make anything on that, but the shirts, the albums, that's what's going to
So
actually give them profit. So I buy lots of vinyl albums.
the stuff that I buy the most of in physical media is anime Blu-rays of
Mm-hmm.
shows that I love, and of particular certain things. I'm a huge Gundam fan, and I will buy everything Gundam. I'll buy everything like Outlaw Star, things like that are military, kind of like Star Trek vibe, and things that are from my childhood that are really, really good anime stuff, right? That I want forever. And I don't even open it up. I don't even take it out of the plastic because I can get it all digital, right?
Yeah.
But the reason why is that I never want it taken away from me.
Yeah. And things disappear. That's physical media. They can't decide, oh, that episode's offensive now, remove it from streaming, and it disappears from the earth.
But
when you have it physical, they can never remove it from your collection or
I
not let you see it anymore.
I just watched a show, right? It was like Failure Frame. I'm not going to buy Failure Frame. I enjoyed Failure Frame. I'll watch it again in like 2 years. It was 12 episodes. I love the character, how he was condemned. He was viewed the weakest. He survives a dungeon, and then he wants to kill the goddess who put him there. And that's his whole mission. And then he's winding up helping everybody instead. Oh, it's a comedy like Ickasai. Great. So entertaining. A fun show, but I'm not buying that in Blu-ray.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and that's why I asked the question to you is that, like, for me, what I buy physically now, and the only thing I buy physically is things that I want, and that when I have children, I want them to be able to watch it regardless of ownership or where the media rights are.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't want Netflix to say we're not gonna carry this show anymore and then shit out of luck, Andrew. Like, I want to culture my children, if that makes any sense, with all the good stuff that may or may not be offensive.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially the stuff that's offensive, because they need to learn. They need to learn how to be properly offended and adjudicated.
There you go.
But that's how I feel as an individual. But having said that, we covered a lot of stuff, and I do want to give you an opportunity to promote yourself. So where can people find you, bother you, check out the campaign, pick up everything else you're doing, and all the good stuff that's coming out with you?
All right. So you can find all my social media is under Finish Line Comics. I have Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, um, Twitter, and then I do have a YouTube channel. I do 2 live shows per week. I do one every Saturday morning where I just talk with different creators and come up with some wild topics and we talk about things. Rarely is it about comic books, mostly about just fun pop culture things, music, movies, TV, and then of course people talking about their campaigns at the end. I have a music show where every week I discuss a new album with a co-host. So you can find that on my YouTube at Finish Line Comics. And then right now, issue 11 of Immortal Era is live on Kickstarter. You can catch up physical, digital. I also have, if you want to just wet your feet, I have issue 1 available, physical and digital, and you can get that and try it out. And then we'll be back because issue 12, the artwork is done. We're going to do colors are going to be started on that probably about October, because I'm looking at like I was talking about before, doing one of those make 100s in in January, where we'll have a hardcover and only do 100 copies of that. So we'll be putting out issue 12 and the trades all together, so the floppy collectors can get theirs, and the people who buy the hardcovers or the soft covers can get that. And then I have a new series that'll be launching in October called Floaters, and hopefully we can come on and talk about that, because that we could talk a whole nother hour about how that story came about. But it's a wild one, and a lot of real life insanity brewed into that one. But search up Finish Line Comics, you can find everything there. And yeah, look for Immortal Era on Kickstarter, and you'll find us right there.
Okay, and then obviously, I keep saying it. You need to support indie, support people who are creating things. Best way to do it is through Kickstarter and some other stuff. Shop online, see them at cons, share out what they're doing, engage them, share this video, all that fun stuff. And then, as far as I'm concerned, I am Pop Anime Comics on Twitter / Pop Anime Comics on the X. I am Pop Anime Comics on the Gram, because that's what all the kids are calling it now. No, it's Instagram. I want to make that crystal clear. Still on Instagram. I like Facebook still. It's Pop Anime Comics. YouTube, please subscribe. Pop Anime Comics. A lot of cool stuff's coming. A lot of micro content is coming. Starting in October, a lot of shorts are coming. A lot of fun images. My YouTube like post community page is so much fun. It's free, and I put up a lot of fun images there. And I have a really good time on that area and that position. So please subscribe on YouTube. I guarantee you will have a great time. TikTok, if it's still around, is Pop Anime Comics. So yes, put a lot of content out on TikTok. And then I do also run another show on a whole different channel called Big Boy Card Collecting. And I've cracked open some cool stuff. I speak about cards. And tomorrow night, I'm cracking open a really cool Francisco Lindor base relic card.
Nice.
And I broke the Pete Alonsos. I broke my Acunas. I broke my other Lindors. And on Thursday, I am getting a Topps Chrome set, 3 to be exact.
Wow.
So yeah, I spent a lot of money on that. They're like $210 a piece.
Yeah, I saw that.
Oh, tomorrow they're coming out, guys. They're coming out tomorrow. It's gonna be so much fun. I'm probably gonna buy like another 3 minimal. I have a problem. I spend a lot of money on cards. I sell a lot of cards too. I mean, don't even start, guys. But that's what my YouTube channel does. So it's Big Boy Card Collecting, and on Instagram, because we just launched an Instagram for that. What essentially I do is I let everybody know what's going on. I provide updates of cool cards that are coming out, cool sets that are coming out, give a lot of cool stuff, give opinions on there. And it's really a fun place to be, because you get to see what I break. And yeah, so that's what I got. And then finally, in conjunction with all that, I do have an eBay channel, and look for Comics and Collectibles. Come shop us on eBay. And I sell a lot of this stuff there. So stuff like this, I sell in my store, or this is a better picture where they put a base and a card. So I sell a lot of that. I sell a lot of stuff like this, which are 101s. I sell this. I have a bunch of these. Angel Reese Rookie, Draft Night, Limited 25s. I sell a lot of interesting comics in my store like this and like this. So yes, I have all 15 of those. I have all 15 of these in my store. So yes, and then I sell stuff like this, which is a really cool card. So, and then stuff like this comes up also in my store all the time as soon as it pops up. So original art cards a lot of the time come up as well. So you name it, I sell it. Right now, I'm adding in the next week or two a lot of cool stuff. So if you're looking for cool comics at good prices, looking for rare cards like the cards, yes, I got you covered. And if I don't have it, ask because I may have it. It just might not be listed. And if I got it and I ain't listed because I rotate merch, guess what? I'll list it for you. So there you go. There you go. So that's everything that I do. Again, just type in my name, pop out of my comics. I promise I'll pop up. If I owe you money, I'm just gonna walk away as if I broke something in a store. So that's everything about me, and I'm gonna give you the final word.
All right. Check out Finish Line Comics. Head over to Kickstarter for Immortal Era 1 through 11. And if you do head over to Kickstarter, give me a follow because I have lots of good stuff coming out throughout the rest of this year.
And I believe everybody that is a wrap.